Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. You are asking Ashley. And today's question is, why do I attract men that are unavailable, broke, emotionally unavailable, in relationships, married, all those things that we don't want to attract. So we're going to talk about why do you and why have I attracted men that I wasn't trying to attract. And in that season, I was very confused because I was attracting these men that just weren't for me. So we're going to ask that question to you today. So why do you attract men that are unavailable? So that could be emotionally unavailable. That can be physically unavailable, relationally, I don't even know if that's a word, unavailable, or financially incapable. So why do you attract men like that? And a lot of the times it is really how you are portraying yourself to your environment. How are you showing up to the world? And that's just simple. And nowadays with social media, it's easy for someone to find out your whole life story just by, swiping it up. We could see your whole life story, what you did last week, where you work, your relationship status. We can see all those things by social media. So you want to really tap into what are you putting out into the universe. And also, it really is something deep inside you, because we're going to take a trip down memory lane. It was a time that I was very heartbroken, and I was just not feeling good about myself. Like, I wasn't happy with my life and what I was doing in my career, and I just didn't really hear about anything, because I wasn't happy. But I couldn't tell that it was something that wasn't fulfilled within me. So what I attracted was back-to-back unavailable men. And when it came to a head, I was attracted to a man that just was going back and forth between me and ex-girlfriend, back and forth, just ping-ponging us, yo-yoing us. And at that time, I'm like, why am I even dealing with this? Like, this doesn't even make any sense. And by that time, after I dealt with, that was the second person I dealt with that just wasn't giving what I wanted life to give to me, I realized it's really me. And that's tough for a woman to really point the finger at yourself, because you're feeling like you're doing all the things right. You got your education. That was me. You focus on your career, and you got to this certain point in your career. You climbed up the corporate ladder, so you're successful in that way. You have, money in the bank, good credit. You have your own apartment or own house. You have a car. You have all these things, but it's really just things. Do you have the fulfillment in you? Do you have self-confidence, self-love? Because that is the most important thing. Because, and I know this is really stereotypical and just sounds like a platitude, but seriously, you can't pour into someone if you're half full. So you have to really work on who you are as a person, and you really are going to give it to the universe. So as I was saying, in that point of my life, I kept attracting these men, and I was just so confused. It was really because I didn't do the emotional work inside of me. So that took a lot of prayer. I didn't go see a counselor, but that really took a lot of time talking to God. And that might be okay for some people, but most times we do need to talk to someone and kind of have them peel back the onion, and you realize, hey, this happened to me and I didn't really deal with that emotionally. And now I'm dealing with the trauma in other ways, and it's exhibiting in my life in other ways. And that's something that we have to be very, very cognizant of, because it can really show up in our relationships. And I truly feel like if you aren't whole, again, this sounds like another platitude, if you aren't whole, you can't find the other part of you. Because honestly, in a marriage, it takes 100% of a man and 100% of a woman to really have a thriving marriage. And if you're not whole, you can't even pour into a man, and you can't even pour into a relationship so you can become a wife. And if you do become a wife, if you aren't whole, you're going to depend on certain things for your husband that he might not be able to give you, and then your marriage is going to fail. And obviously, we want you to live your best life. We want you to get that man that's a good man for you, that's going to love you and take care of you. And we want long-lasting marriage. We don't want to just get to a marriage just to say you were married. We obviously want it to be a long-lasting, thriving marriage. So things to focus on. When you meet a man and you're still, in that phase, and you're like, why am I attracting this type of man that I don't want? You really need to focus on falling in love with what's in really how the man treats you and how he treats other women that are important in his life. And I want to emphasize important in his life, because sometimes, a man might not have a relationship with their mother, and, they might not talk to them, and that's okay. So you don't want to say, he has to have a great relationship with his mother, because that's just not, realistic for some people. So you want to really focus on how he treats you. And again, without being married and, being in a deep, serious relationship, you can't really see that. And you want to weed them out from the beginning. You don't want to wait years and years down the line and realize, this guy is not the, guy I wanted. And now we're 3, 4, 5, 6 years in, and I just wasted all this time. So in the beginning, it's really looking at his relationships with other women that are very important to him. So you want to focus on that, because I always say you don't want to fall in love with a man because of the things that he can do for you or the things that he's doing for you, like material things. You don't want to fall in love with that, because understand, ladies, yes, that's great if a man is able to give you material things, bags and all those things, but that stuff fades. And also things happen in life and that changes. So you don't want to be so, focused on those materialistic things, or even if he does things that's not necessarily bags and shoes, like if he buys you flowers, all those things, and you focusing on that and you thinking that's going to be how it's going to be for your marriage, typically is not, because my husband used to give me flowers and do things like that. I don't remember the last time this man gave me flowers. The last time he gave me flowers, we were having an argument, so he was trying to get back in. But as far as being like, spontaneously giving me flowers, no, that's not something my husband does. Unfortunately, no. Let's be realistic here. That's not going to be happening years and years into marriage. So you don't want to fall in love with those things. And also, you do not want to fall in love with a man's outward public appearance. So meaning what he looks like to others around you. Like, you have that guy and everyone, he comes into the room and everyone's flocking to him and you get so excited by that. Like, oh, that's my man. Oh, he has 500,000 followers. Oh, yeah. And I feel like today a lot of women focus on those things because they see that someone is like Instagram famous and that allure attracts them, and you end up falling in love with that allure without even realizing he might not even be available to you in the ways you want him to be. You're just falling in love with those things, those outward appearances that isn't very important. So I fell in love with how my husband treats me. Now, is my husband a great person? Absolutely. And I think that's important, to be with someone that you believe is a great person and someone you admire. And of course, I admire my husband. He's the smartest man I know. But it was much more important for me to focus on the way he treated me, because a lot of guys, did this and bought me these things and took me to nice restaurants and did those things. And a lot of, that's great. I've had a lot of those experiences, but the way my husband treats me is like no other. He goes above and beyond to make sure that I'm taken care of, to make sure I'm happy. He does, things overly, to impress me. And he does all those things because he truly loves me. And I think that's a way that men show their love, is by doing those things, because men innately are providers. Now, you're going to say there's some men that, might not want to do that, or that's just not their characteristics, but that's how, God created men to be providers. So, he wants to say, hey, look, this is what I can do. This is, truly that's what a man's core should be. And that's what God created him to be. And I'm focusing on that. Now, you might not be, spiritual or religious or godly, and that's fine. But innately, that's who a man is. They want to provide and they want to be able to show off, look what I can do. So if a man truly loves you, he's going to do those things. And again, do not be fooled by the glitz and glamour, because especially when you're dealing with a high value man, a man that's very successful, financially successful, because those things come very easy to a man at that level. Buying you bags, taking you to nice restaurants, flying you here, that means nothing to him, because he could do that to anyone. That money is flowing, so that means nothing. So you truly want to focus on those things that are like, above and beyond, like things that just make you feel so special, and he's just listening to what you're saying. For example, my husband, talking and just understanding like some of the things that I wanted to do. And obviously it was materialistic when I was talking about him proposing to me. He proposed to me in France on the Seine River, but understanding that I was in high school and I took those classes, and I always wanted to go to France. And it was another Spanish class in my school, the advanced placement class. They got to go to Costa Rica, and I was like, oh my goodness, I wish we would have got to go to France. And I always wanted to go to France, and I studied the language, I studied the culture, and I was very, very enthralled with that. So he knew how important that was to me, and he said, I'll take you to France for your birthday. And I was already like, oh my gosh, he's taking me somewhere I wanted to go. But then he went, of course, above and beyond and did special things for our engagement that, we can't really quantify that. It's priceless. You can't put a number on that, because it was so important and so special to me how he went above and beyond to surprise me and do other things. And I wanted to see certain things. Again, he wasn't really that interested in a lot of things I wanted to see, but he, really, participated in those things and planned them, and that meant a lot. So be sure to fall in love with how a man treats you first. And of course, why are you attracting those men that aren't treating you the way that you want to be treated is because, number one, you didn't do the work on you. So that's number one. And number two, you really have to train them from the beginning. You want to make sure that you're setting that standard, because 9 times out of 10, if the man is not about to be doing what you're telling him that he need to do, he can go about his business. And that's truly what you want. You want someone to not waste your time. You don't want them to be playing a part for years and years and years. And then now you're like, I want to get married. And they're like, what? I'm not about to get married. But if you put that to the forefront and you're putting your best foot forward and you are the best you have a great mindset, you are going to be attracting the men that you want to attract. So really ask that question to yourself. If you continuously keep attracting a certain type of man and it's not the type of man that you want to attract, turn that mirror on yourself. Take a look at yourself, mirror on the wall, and you need to ask yourself, what am I doing and what am I giving to the world that the world's giving me back this? Really think about that, ladies. And thank you so much for chatting with me today. I love you guys. I can't wait to speak to you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below. If you know a friend that's right now attracting a married man or keep attracting married men, send this to her and tell her, listen, if you're attracting unavailable men, you need to take a look at yourself and you need to get yourself together so you can live your best life too. Thank you guys. See you guys next time on Asking Ashley.